Is Siege an anime? Trick question. Everything is anime. Siege can be an anime. That's fine. But did it need to be an anime? Was it really necessary? There's all kinds of anime. The problem is that there's a lot more trash anime out there nowadays than not. In the West, we have our own form of anime. They're called superhero movies, and they rake in bingo bongo bucks. I think that Ubisoft is trying to make the game a little bit more in line with this kind of marketing than anime. And I think the game had a decidedly different sort of approach to its lore back then. For me, the perfect middle ground between anime and reality with the character designs was Operation Chimera. Like this picture here with Lion. I'm gonna assume that because it's a video game, you know, there are some creative liberties that are taken to an extent with Lion's character design. I'm not a hazmat suit cop, so I wouldn't know what's realistic or not. But for me, this looks like what a coronavirus fighting cop would look like. Over time, though, the character designs of Rainbow Six Siege have gone from what you'd find out of a typical cop or action flick, and have become a little, I actually made a joke about this in the Zofia guide comparing Thatcher's old bio to Zofia's. And what I'm getting at here is that it used to be a brief overview of their psych profile, their relevant experience, what they're good at, what they're not good at, done. It read off like an actual dossier written by an analyst. Dekebi is probably the worst example of what I'm talking about. Before her bio got updated, it says here, to survive, she bought fake glasses and adopted the geek girl persona. She's an e-thought. She's an e-girl. She belonged to the Twitch chat. You can see what I mean on the official Ubisoft website. Some of the operators still have their old bios, and they're pretty snappity, quick, and to the point. They come off as a little more realistic. All the operators have quotes now. Like they have a quote at the beginning of their bios. Some of them are all right. A lot of them make me scratch my head a little bit. But probably the most unrealistic operator that we have ever introduced to Rainbow Six Siege is Yana. And before I lose everyone on this one and they go, it's just a video game, calm down, Greg, why are you such a fucking nerd? Nobody cares. I'm not telling Ubisoft how to write their game. The people who were working at the studio have gone up a ladder that I am not even relatively close to. I understand that there's a lot that is involved in trying to work in a AAA studio and trying to make a game that appeals to a wide range of people. I'm not coming at anybody. Please don't blacklist me, Ubi. But Yana is albino, and that's cool. But one of the things that's concerning about an albino cop is that you're busting down doors and doing intense police work with guns. And for shooting, somebody with light sensitivity, you know, your eyes, like those things you kind of need to shoot, not the most ideal problem to have. So she has these sci-fi contact lenses to circumvent this problem, and when you play Yana in the game, you can see this little overlay here that's supposed to say like, hey, these are her really cool contact lenses that allow her to do really intense police work with. That's okay, but why is she here? Like, why is she involved in the team? Why is she breaching and clearing? Why is she busting down doors and going shoot bang? Well, it's because she made this thing that can be used to drone forever. So Harry, who is a genius, says, give her a gun and let it do the stuff. So good. It's all right. Because human resources, I guess, it's not really a thing here. It's just Harry resources. If I'm looking this up on ZipRecruiter, the application form is something like, have you made a really cool thing, or can you do a really cool thing? And that's kind of it, I guess. What the f? And if you're still with me, you're probably like, yeah, Gregor, tell him about how Oryx sucks and is stupid, and I don't feel that way. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna alienate everybody with this video. It's okay. Okay, Oryx's thing is that he's just a genetic freakazoid. And I mean, if you look at what he does in the game, he is a genetic freakazoid. His vertical jump makes Derrick Henry look like a child, which is fucking crazy. But in terms of lore and his involvement in Rainbow, I think what Ubi is trying to get at here is that he's a fill-in for the rebels and the freedom fighters that we work with on the ground. The informants, the guerrilla fighters, the asterisks, dudes like that. And the West often does collab with these people, and I think that Jordan is a great country to represent in the world's most inclusive crime-fighting team. I think Oryx, as a character, he's fine. But you couldn't have given him like a super suit or like a, you know, something. It's just him. He's the gadget. I am the gadget. But with operator designs like Yana, we really have to start and get out of the range of speculative fiction to just pure sci-fi. And I understand if a lot of people who are fans of Tom Clancy's books aren't exactly fans of that. I know that at this point, those people are outnumbered by everyone else. But I think that Rainbow Six Siege stands at an important crossroads in the FPS gaming community as a game that is popular to a wide range of people. And surely when it first came out, it was marketed as a super hardcore police tactics kind of game, and it had remarkable appeal among milsim YouTube channels as a result of that. Gun nerds really liked it. Even if we're looking at it from a purely just gun handling perspective, it has a lot of inaccuracies, and I mean a lot. But so does CSGO. And it's a video game. It's a competitive shooter, and there are certain liberties we have to take with realism in order to make the game competitively viable. I get all that. But if we compare characters like Ding Chavez, who in the original canon was Harry's character, Six, John Clark, etc., all of these gun-tootin', chiseled jawline characters of a book that made the New York Times bestseller list seem to be ignored and relegated to a part of the canon that's not really relevant, kind of like how Marvel took liberty with much of the original comic books to make them more palatable to a wider audience, because there's a lot of stuff in the comic books that like no one's gonna get it. Right? Marvel did it better than any other, and Ubi has made a lot of original characters for the sake of the game's longevity that, in my opinion, are really cool. I think Maverick is my favorite example of this reality to fiction overlap. Overlap? Maverick is my favorite example because his character is clearly being based off of Marcus Luttrell, who's immortalized in the story of Lone Survivor, based off of his real accounts as a Navy SEAL in Afghanistan. Maestro and Alibi look like Italian cops, and they clearly seem to get along with each other pretty well, but I'm gonna assume, just based off of who they are and where they're from, that their politics probably differ a little bit on certain topics. I'm not gonna say what topics, but let's just use our brains and make an assumption. Huh? That's a contradictory statement. Many of the vanilla operators, although for being completely realistic, the 90s style uniforms of the FBI SWAT don't really make sense nowadays, and the SAS are still using 70s era equipment. They're meant to look like an average cop. It's not about being completely authentic. It's about the idea that they're authentic light. Yeah, let's go with that. And their affiliation with an organization like the Navy SEALs or the White Tigers or the GIGN is all meant to give them a sense of credibility, because this is not an easy job. It is, depending on where you work, one of the world's most difficult, and it's supposed to be even more pedigreed, considering this international coalition, Team Rainbow, is supposed to be the best of the best. So if somebody from MARSOC gets added to the game, they would have to be, canonically, the best that MARSOC has to offer. So that's the 1% of the 1%, and the most 1% that the 1% has ever 1%ed. And we're putting Amaru and a Navy SEAL on the same fire team because she's an archaeologist? Because she has a grappling hook? And I'm not saying that on a job, a person like Amaru wouldn't be an important asset. She could give information to the people on the ground. You don't have to be a gunner to be useful in this field. If you look at Harry's character design, he's a perfect example of that. He's a skinny nerd. His job description is basically reading a lot of books and having really good geography skills and networking skills. You don't have to be a big buff pull-up doing guy to do that. But a person like Amaru is just not gonna be on a fire mission. I'm sorry. It just doesn't make sense. Neither is Thatcher. Honestly, I know that's gonna hurt a lot of y'all's feelings, but even the best football kicker in the world, Adam Vinatieri, this dude is considered old AF, and he's 47. I think he's staying in for another year or two to beat the oldest old fuck of all time record. But even football kicking is considered a physically strenuous job.
Adam Vinatieri? That's right, it's me, Adam Vinatieri, the best kicker in the world.
Gianluigi Buffon? He's getting up there. He's 41. He's a goalkeeper. But age past the 40-year mark for a job like, gridiron football, to not confuse you guys, kicking is going to wear out them bones. How the hell is Thatcher going to do it, do you think? And I'm not an expert in any of this, right? Like, I'm just a nerd who grew up with a lot of cop and spy movies. You know, that's it. I'm just a guy. I'm also just trying to use my brain and look at this from a realism perspective. And Siege doesn't have to be realistic, but I think it's well out of the realm of possibility to say that this game is being based off of reality anymore. Does any of this matter? Not really. Ubisoft is entitled to do whatever they want with their license, but in my opinion, I think it's important that if the implication that these people are fighting in the world's most exclusive counterterrorism force, but it doesn't go complete full anime. Like, there still needs to be the implication that these guys can do a PT test, because these are real factions. The SAS is real. The GIGN is real. GSG-9 is real. Thatcher's outfit here is based off of a real operation that really happened. I think creative liberty is important for the franchise to appeal to a wide audience, and it's important that it isn't made exclusively for gun nerds. It's important that it doesn't scare people away. But I don't think that alienating a wide demographic from your marketing strategy of any group is a good idea, and I think there's a reason people are pointing out how Yana looks like something out of a Metal Gear Solid game, because she does. The game is taking a great degree of creative liberties right now. But to me, the thing about Team Rainbow that made it really cool was that it was unbiased, and it didn't discriminate against nationalities, and it pools the best of the best from all corners of the globe. Because regardless of where your politics stand, everyone agrees hurting people is wrong. And a crime-fighting team like Rainbow is there to keep that from happening. And it's for that reason that despite politics, that there's a person from Israel and there's a person from Jordan on the same team. It stands at a unique point to teach the public about international coalitions and their importance. And that sounds like a really good anime to me. But what do you guys think? Is Siege an anime? What's your favorite arc? I think the zombie arc was alright, but had a lot of issues in how far and away it got from the original canon. But it was one of the better filler arcs. Deuces.
Last one, piano. He's right by white stairs.
Oh no, he's in.
Oh boy, Greg.